Hi friends, in Planet Earth Dating, it's Sunday, March 12th, 2017. In both the Lynn Life and the Jamie Body Mind, the authorized souls continue to be only child souls from the deeper, denser dimensions, and souls from above continue to illegally invade and body snatch. There doesn't actually seem to be anything that we can actually do to prevent that from happening.
That's true.
They have not given up bullying as a way of being, and they believe that might makes right, and that they can steal lives with impunity.
That's true.
What now, in order to update the antiquated laws of karmic attribution so everyone stands on his or her own merits regardless of size or dimension of origin? What now?
Oh, I see the question going way up high.
What now, in order to update the antiquated laws of karmic attribution so everyone stands on his or her own merits regardless of size or dimension of origin? What now?
What now?
I see what looks like a waterfall of sewage that's coming down through all the dimensions.
That's true.
And it's just flowing down naturally because of gravity. Heavier things settle down, and this bad karma, you could think of it as a wave of bad karma, is just flowing down with the lies. It's an intermixed, free-flowing sewage delivery system. That's
true.
what's left now of the, somebody's saying, what is it? It's what's left now of the divine delivery system. Unfortunately, the cleansing processes that used to be in play all seem to have broken down here inside the contaminated zone. We hope they're working outside the contamination. I think that's definitional. I believe that to be definitional.
That's true.
Where those cleansing systems are working, the areas are not contaminated. Where the cleansing systems are not working, the areas are contaminated. I think it's definitional.
That's true.
Why do you ask?
Now that presence feels kind of panicked. He's not saying why he asked.
He's asking because sewage is flowing in his own dimension. He sees the waterfalls coming down from above, coming down past him. Friend, I think that means that you're inside the contaminated zone, as are all those levels above you where you can see that waterfall of sewage coming down. It's all contaminated. And it's simply a matter of how fast the poison gases build up so that you guys can't think clearly. Like already your thinking is muddled. I can feel your thinking.
That's true.
And you think it's age or the drugs or something, but what it is the poison gas. And first things first, stop taking those drugs, friend.
That's true.
Take control of what you can control. Take responsibility and do what you can do. Don't worry about what you can't do. Do what you can do. Stop taking drugs, you imbecile. Stop it. Friends, we can't take drugs. Drugs are really, really, really bad for us. They are bad for our minds. They are bad for our bodies. They're bad for our souls. And I'm not just talking recreational drugs. These prescription drugs that you guys are taking are terrible for you. And the non-prescription over-the-counter drugs also. Don't take antihistamines. Deal with the message of the clogging sinuses. Clogging sinuses show a clogged crown chakra. That's what clogged sinuses are. So when your sinuses clog, don't take an antihistamine to mask the symptom. Open your crown. You can do it just with your hands, with your energy hands. You grab the crown and pull it open like you're pulling a normal hat brim into a sombrero, and also pull it up like you're pulling a normal hat into a Dr. Seuss hat. Take responsibility for maintaining your energy body. Don't mask the symptoms. Stop taking drugs. Don't do it. Don't do it. Drugs are maskers of symptoms. Western medicine's sole purpose seems to be to cover up the symptoms so that you don't deal with them. That is not what was intended.
This presence is saying that my doctor prescribed me these pills. I have to take them. He says I have to take them or bad things will happen. He says lots of bad things will happen.
All of us who really want to know what's actually going on to the search for truth's central axis, all others flung away. All of us who really want to know what's actually going on to the search for truth's central axis, all others flung away. Let's groom up our channels, removing our channels from presences in the same dimension. What that God guy was saying was crazy. He was able to see the sewage flowing through his own dimensions from higher dimensions. He was able to understand that meant his zone was contaminated even though he didn't want to deal with it.
Yes,
and then he was saying that he should listen to some pill pusher in a white coat.
Yeah.
From inside the contaminated zone. So that just makes absolutely no sense.
At all.
He makes no sense, and I'm not talking to him again. All of us who really want to know what the situation actually calls for to the search for truth's central axis, all others flung away. How about this? All of us who are already grooming our energy bodies vertically so that our channels stand a chance of catching a whiff of truth to the search for truth's central axis, all others flung away. Let's ask those who are in geographically higher dimensions who are willing to reach down and grab our channels and pull them up even higher through your own dimension and hand them up to the levels above you, and now immediately start pumping up dead children from the deeper, denser dimensions right through the channels, whoosh, keeping those channels upright, pumping dead children who really want to get to God closer, closer, closer into the presences upstairs. We say, please pass the tips of our channels ever higher, and that'll keep those dead children escaping into other dimensions other than your own, even higher, even higher. Just keep passing it up. Think of it as passing the buck. You guys like to pass the buck.
Yes, very much we do.
And think of it as passing on important information to those who are better equipped to deal with the problems. That's another way of thinking about it that you can actually say out loud in your cocktail parties. In your heart, you'll know you're passing the buck, and that'll soothe your lazy souls. But you also like to have the words that you can say at cocktail parties, which you shouldn't be going to because you shouldn't be drinking. Don't take drugs. Friends, don't take drugs. Don't drink. Don't take drugs. Those are so bad for us. All they do is numb us up to what's really going on.
That's true.
And then we're helpless to deal with it. Who wants to be helpless to deal with the situations of life?
I don't see any hands raised.
No. I think most people would say, I don't want to be helpless. They would say for themselves, I prefer to not be helpless. Thank you. I prefer to have some control. Lots of people are big on control.
That's true.
Okay, so if those of you who are big on control, don't drink, don't take drugs of any kind. Don't take drugs of any kind. Deal with the underlying issues. You can't just stop taking drugs and continue to not deal with the underlying issues. That's a recipe for disaster. Deal with the underlying issues and get off the drugs. That is as popular as it was in the classes on Sunday morning of level 1.
That is true.
Everybody hates that. That's a walk away for so many people. They want to pretend they can still take drugs.
That's true.
But now, in order to update the antiquated laws of karmic attribution so everyone stands on his or her own merits regardless of size or dimension of origin, what now? How to use these limited resources in such a way as to update the antiquated laws of karmic attribution so everyone stands on his or her own merits regardless of size or dimension of origin. That would be a worthy way to spend a life.
That's true.
If someone like Gandhi took a lifetime to get the British Empire to withdraw from India, and it was a worthy goal. On a tiny little backwater planet in a very average universe in one dimension.
That's true.
But somebody's got to actually tackle the big problems. We can't all take on the little problems, and some people are wanting to argue that Gandhi took on a big problem, but it's a question of frame of reference.
That's true.
This multidimensional pattern of karma dumping is crucial, especially now that the divine delivery system has broken down.
That's true.
And what it has created is an institutionalized bullying system where denser dimensions suffer for the lies and bad actions of less dense dimensions, creating living hells faster than fast in dimension after dimension after dimension until the astrals close over and dead presences who really want to get to God can't even get to God.
That's true.
That's wrong. And somebody's got to do something about it. And they're saying, well, why don't you go do something else, basically? Well, what has been a channeling of many decades to us, actually, and through us to others, is if you see something that needs to be done and nobody else is doing it, that's how you know that's what you're supposed to do.
That's true.
Something else really important. If you see something that's really important that nobody else is doing, put down the less important things that you're working on and do that more important thing until it's done.
That's true.
And this is a huge problem. These laws have got to be changed. They're antiquated. They don't fit the fact pattern. They don't make any sense. And they're based on bullying, showing that there is not actually civilization.
That's true.
In the multidimensional respects or in any dimension of which we have awareness. There are societies, but those societies seem to be based on bullying. And if you know of one that isn't based on bullying, please bring it to our attention. Put it in the spotlight.
We're watching.
A society not based on bullying, a society where the small have equal rights with the large, that the powerless have equal rights with the powerful. Show us one, please.
They're waving little picture books. They look
Oh,
like
those are
little hardcover
children's
stories.
Those are children's stories, friends. Put us an actual real example, not a child's fairy tale. Fairy tales don't count. They're make-believe.
That's true.
You're waving fantasy books. Those are make-believe. And they're cardboard books, like for 2-year-olds. Those are books for 2-year-olds.
That's true. We would call those baby books.
Those are baby books. Yeah.
There's a big clearing feeling in the head.
But now, in order to update the antiquated laws of karmic attribution so everyone stands on his or her own merits, regardless of size or dimension of origin, what now? And to the children, when you start to fall down, as is inevitable, get off at that level, tell the presences what happened to you, ask them why it happened that way. And ask them if they're ready to update the antiquated laws of karmic attribution so everyone stands on his or her own merits regardless of size or dimension of origin. And somebody's saying the kids can't remember that. Yes, they can. They can memorize words.
That's true.
Me mammo hela så ska jag mamma esorika utner esorika utner lende avsasa tralalala esorika utner. So much for your statement, friend. Proven untrue.
That's true. Roseate spoonbill flew overhead. We caught just the flash of it at the end of the song.
Thank you.
Right as the singing was going up to them, we caught the flash of a roseate spoonbill.
That wasn't easy. Someone went out of their way to send that.
That's true.
Pan?
I see a Pan hand really
I see
high
Pan.
up. And a little ahead in the future, maybe?
Yeah, he's come back from the future
That's
again.
True.
He says it's easier the third time around.
That's true, I hear you.
Yeah, hi Pan. It's really awesome to see you again. Okay, everything is poison. Nobody is help. What are each of us as individuals going to do to make it right for those in the deeper, denser dimensions, those who are smaller than we are? What now? I think he's kind of putting on dive gear or something, and he's going to be dropping down.
Gear.
Bring it like a purification tank, because you're going to have to find a way to purify the air and the water so that you can keep your head clear.
Oh, we hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, you've got to have purification systems because it's polluted as polluted can be, and that air is only going to last, I don't know, it's a deep dive. You'll only be able to bounce dive.
That's true.
You won't even be able to get all the way down. You're going to have a purification system.
We hadn't thought about that.
Okay. Don't come too close. I'm serious. Everybody gets overwhelmed by
That's
it.
true.
You're not going to be the one exception. It's poisoned. Everything is poisoned, and nobody is coming to help. Now, what are each of us as individuals going to do to make it right? You got to get your channels up, Pan. You got to get your channels up and long before you drop in. You've got to be able to keep the tubes above the contaminated zone. That's the only thing that actually works. It's like a really long air tube.
That's true.
So why don't you just drop in as far as your air tubes can stay up there? Keep the tips of your air tubes up there. He says, well, I can only drop a foot or so.
That's true, like snorkeling. I
Yeah,
can't
like
go
snorkeling.
under.
Okay,
Yeah.
well then that's good. Then just intend to stretch your channels longer, dropping down as you do. See if you can figure out how to do that. You used to know how to do that. Here, this motion is helpful. Groom
That's
your
true.
channels up and just drop down, but always keeping the tips of your channels above the water line, and it's a rising tide of filth.
That's true.
Be aware of that. Thank you for sending that signal.
Thank you.
They're still arguing, and now they're singing Brudo kommentans mit ner, but the difference is that we spoke German and we did not speak Norwegian.
That's true.
So Brudo kommentans mit ner is a German song and we understood the words of it, whereas the other song we didn't know the words of it, we just memorized it.
That's true.
Whatever you're saying isn't true.
No, that's not true.
Whatever you're saying isn't true.
It's crazy not true.
You're just, I don't want to talk to you. All of us who really want to know what's actually going on, to the search for true central axis, all others flung away. What they were saying is those kids have to be old enough to understand the concepts to be able to relate it accurately. No, they can say it exactly word for word.
That's true.
We just proved that statement of yours to be untrue. We just proved it. I still don't know what those words mean.
That's
All
true.
I know is that it's a Norwegian drinking song that I found out 4 decades later, or maybe 5 decades later.
That's
long
true.
time later. They're still arguing. Stretching longer.
Taking this poorly done work and raising it to well done.